I doing? So, doing one of the things I would do if I were to learn the guitar all over. So, I was just watching a video by Rick Beato, and I guess he's learning, let's say he's teaching his kid Dylan how to play the guitar. And he talks about the things that he would work on if he were to relearn the guitar from scratch. I mean, I've got 5 things that I think I would work on. So, again, one of the things I kind of stress to everybody is when you're teaching somebody something, nobody comes at it from the same perspective in terms of their knowledge base. So in the case of Rick, he played the cello. In the case of Dylan, I think he plays the keyboard because I think he started that channel. Basically, he had Dylan's ear training capabilities on display. So we all come from different aspects when we start learning the guitar. I think Pat Metheny played the trumpet and so on and so forth. So never lose sight of that fact. And so because of that, we're either going to be more adept at it or it's going to be more challenging. And it's not necessarily better that you came and you learned another instrument because sometimes that can hold you back. Okay, so but in any event though, so you got to start off from whatever your specific starting point is and leverage the good things about that. The 5 things I would work on, and not necessarily in this order because it's not a linear path, is 1, learning to read, 2, learning how to harmonize your scales, 3, working on inversions, 4, kind of the same vein of inversions, having a systematic approach of connecting the fretboard. That means connecting the chords and the scales together. And the 5th one is ear training. So again, reading, harmonizing scales, inversions, connecting the fretboard, which is really broad, and ear training. Let's talk about the beginning one, learning to read. A lot of people poo-poo that stuff. They talk about the fact that Wes Montgomery didn't know how to read, Jimi Hendrix didn't know how to read, the Beatles claim they didn't know how to read. Folks, learning to read is going to help you. It's not going to hurt you, okay? It's the universal language. It's not that difficult. You don't have to be a mathematician. You just have to work at it. And part of the problem with guitar players, we just don't work at it. Most guitar players learn to play the guitar, and after several years, they attempt to learn how to read, and they get frustrated because they don't want to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars out of Mel Bay's book, and they say, well, it sucks. So-and-so didn't know it. They try to use that fact that they know great guitarists who doesn't know how to read, supposedly, and saying, yeah, they don't have to learn. So got news for most people. You don't have the Beatles' talent. You don't have Wes Montgomery's talent. And you don't have Jimmy's talent, okay? That's great for you if you're blessed with some great God-given gifts with your ear training and all like that. And by the way, a lot of those people I'm talking about, some of them didn't know how to read. Did in fact have a lot more reading comprehension, as well as like theoretical foundations than they led on to believe. So okay, that's the first thing. The second thing I talked about was harmonizing your scales. Most people just learn the notes of the scales like this. I'm in the key of G. Okay? So what I mean by harmonizing the scales is that each note of the scale corresponds with a chord. I would learn that as early as possible and work on that in all the different keys. So in the case of G major, you've got the 1 chord, which is the first note. G major 7, you got the 2 chord, which is the second note, and that is A minor 7. Then you've got the 3 chord, which is a minor 7. That's a B minor 7. Then you've got the 4 chord, which is a major 7. That's a C major 7. Then you got the 5 chord, that's always a dominant 7. And in this case, that's a D dominant 7. Then you've got the 6th chord, where I'm going to hit it here. That's an E, that's a minor 7. Then you got the 7th chord, which is always some form of a diminish, or, in this case, I should say a minor 7 flat to 5th. F sharp, minor 7 flat to 5th. Back to the 1 chord, I'll hit it here, which is the G major 7th. So that's a lot to digest. But once you get this, it's the foundation of jazz playing when people are saying 2-5-1 chord progression, 1-6-4, whatever it is, a 1-4-5 blues progression. When you start associating the chord and a number and harmonizing your scales, it's going to become a lot clearer for you. So that's one of the things that I would learn. The third thing I would learn is inversions. It's not a dirty word. All it means is that you are reordering the notes of the scale. I'm sorry, the notes of the chord itself. So this G major 7 sits here with this root over here. And I'm not going to spell out the chord, but you should learn how to spell out chords right there. So the next inversion for that is, this is also a G major 7. This is also a G major 7. This is a G major 7. This is a G major 7. And then it repeats itself. If you really wanted to start, this is a G major 7 here. Okay? The reason I did this way and I picked those inversions is that what's happening when I do this? That's the next step, which is connecting the fretboard. By connecting the fretboard, I mean I want to approach this like a piano. I want to approach it horizontally, not just vertically or just up and down, which is the way we learn guitar. So you see the movement this way and that way. So that you're connecting the fretboard when you learn inversions, and you're going to learn that how to do that with scales. So far, learning to read, the importance of that, learning to harmonize your scales, learning inversions, and connecting the fretboard. Okay, connecting the fretboard, you should be able to do that too with scales. And one of the exercises that I do is that each of the inversions has a scale that's associated with that. And you can play them and connect them. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but you'll get an idea. So G major 7, we learned this. The next one is this inversion. We learned this. Okay, this pretty one, we learned. And then this G major 7. And then this is the one we started here. So beauty of the guitar repeats itself. And it goes back here. Oops. Okay. There's a lot more to this and stuff. One of the things I'm doing, people would say, hey, you're not starting with the root. I never start with the root, or I try not to. So those are modes, but we're not going to even get that. That gets people all messed up. To me, I don't really think of modes as being anything different than a major scale, quite frankly. And yes, I do know Lydian, Phrygian, Ionian, and all this other stuff, but that just tends to confuse people. Once I learn this and I try to figure out what the lowest note possible that's within the scale to start with, I'm learning the modes without even thinking about them from that perspective. So aligning the inversions with their appropriate scales and connecting them back and forth. That's a logical way to connecting the fretboard. So the last one is ear training. So you got reading, you got harmonizing scales, you got inversions, you've got connecting the fretboard. The last one is ear training. The reason ear training is important, and to me, this is the reason why we even play the guitar. That is, you're always training your ears. The reason I started playing the guitar is because I heard something on the radio that attracted me and that I wanted to learn. Some people are blessed with better ears than others, but you can work at it. There are different techniques that you can use. I always try to pick out the bass notes as a following and a guideline. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. So I've seen people take these ear training classes. They kind of improve, but it's like anything else in life. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. So those are my 5 things. Sorry for the long video, but it's a lifetime of work. Reading, harmonizing scales, inversions, connecting the fretboard, and ear training. And anybody that tells you it's easy, nothing worthwhile is easy. You got to put some time into it, and you got to shed, or woodshed, as they say. Practice, practice, practice. Thank you so much for watching. Bye now.